The government and the people in power's handling of the whole Epstein situation is honestly so comical because it is so incredibly obvious how desperate they are to try and cover the whole thing up and get people to move on from it as quickly as possible. But people obviously aren't letting up because until about a week ago, we have been continuously promised time and time again and told that we're going to see the release of the Epstein files, and the Epstein client list is also going to be released and we're going to be able to see who was on it. But now it seems like the government is doing everything it can to try and sweep this whole thing under the rug and basically act like it never happened. Now, if you're watching this video and you're unaware about the current situation with Epstein and the government, basically about a week ago, the DOJ and FBI concluded their investigation into Epstein and found that not only does his client list not exist, but that he actually killed himself. And ever since this finding came out, people have been outraged because we have been told time and time again that Epstein's client list does exist, that we're going to see it, we're going to see the full release of the Epstein files, etc. I made a whole video talking about it, so if you want to watch that, just click on the card in the upper right hand corner. But nobody has been trying to get people to move past this whole thing more than Trump himself. Like, the things he's been saying recently in his whole Truth Social post, which I'll get into later on in this video, are clearly an attempt to get the public to move on from this whole thing, which obviously we're not doing. In fact, everything he's been saying and doing recently has only done the exact opposite. Like, I'm sure you've seen that clip of Trump being asked by a news reporter whether or not Epstein worked for an American or foreign intelligence agency, and Trump basically responded with, "Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? Like, why? There's so many more important things going on in the world."
Sure. Your memo and release yesterday on Jeffrey Epstein, it left some lingering mysteries. One of the biggest ones is whether he ever worked for a American or foreign intelligence agency. The former labor secretary who was Miami U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta, he allegedly said that he did work for an intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did? And also, could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the native staff?
Yeah, sure. If I
Could I just interrupt for 1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
Yeah, we're still talking about it because not only was Epstein one of the biggest and well-connected pedophiles and sex traffickers in recent history, but also our current president was very well acquainted with Epstein at one point, as him and Trump have been seen hanging out multiple times in numerous photos and videos that were taken during their time as friends. So yeah, we're still gonna talk about it, and it especially doesn't help that our very government is so desperately trying to cover up the whole Epstein ordeal, making the claim that the client list doesn't exist and that he actually killed himself, which obviously I and the general public think is a load of crap. Now, I'm not saying that just because Trump was friends with Epstein that he's involved with his crimes. In fact, Trump has said on numerous occasions that he wasn't involved. I'm just saying that him being friends with Epstein is definitely playing a major factor as to why the public is not letting this go. But recently, Trump made a very long post on his social media app, Truth Social, and he says, and I'm not making this up, the Epstein files were written by Obama, crooked Hillary, Comey, Brian, and the losers and criminals of the Biden administration. That is a direct quote from his post, and this is the thing that I talked about earlier, which I said I would get into later on. Now, like I said, the post is very long, so I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to read the main part of it that talks about the Epstein files. "We have a perfect administration, the talk of the world, and selfish people are trying to hurt it all over a guy who never dies, Jeffrey Epstein. For years, it's Epstein over and over again. Why are we giving publicity to files written by Obama, crooked Hillary, Comey, Brennan, and the losers and criminals of the Biden administration, who conned the world with the Russia hoax, 51 intelligence agents, the laptop from hell, and more? They created the Epstein files, just like they created the fake Hillary Clinton / Christopher Steele dossier that they used on me, and now my so-called friends are playing right into their hands. Why didn't these radical left lunatics release the Epstein files? files. If there was anything in there that could have hurt the MAGA movement, why didn't they use it? They haven't even given up on the John F. Kennedy or Martin Luther King Jr. files. The rest of the post talks about all of the things Trump and his administration has done, the left is imploding, etc. The switch up from both the government and Trump when it comes to releasing the Epstein files has been insane, because back in April, Trump himself said that he was going to release the Epstein files in full transparency.
When can we expect the Epstein documents to be released? The rest of them?
Which documents?
The Epstein files?
I don't know. I'll speak to the Attorney General about that. I really don't know. I know that we've done the RFK, the Kennedy, Martin Luther King is out there very shortly, so we'll find out. But we've really announced we're doing them in full transparency. You know, when we did JFK, people were saying, "Oh, maybe it wasn't all; it was all," and people actually went up to the office and they looked at some things that were, you know, not really easily available, and they were amazed that we gave it all. And I don't know if it solved any problems for people. People still have questions one way or the other, but that I'm not. But 100% of all of these documents are being delivered.
And not only that, but according to an article from The Hill, which is the same article I quoted in my last video, Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, said that the Epstein client list was sitting on her desk for review. And not only that, but not that long ago, pro-Trump commentators were handed phase 1 of the Epstein files, which Trump is now claiming was written by the left. So I guess they were just handed a bunch of pro-left, anti-Trump propaganda. But now Trump and the government have done a massive 180 on this whole thing, with Trump trying to get people to move past this whole thing, and the FBI and DOJ claiming that Epstein's client list really doesn't exist. Like, they're so desperately trying to cover this whole thing up, which, like I've been saying throughout this video, is only getting people to talk about it more. But in regards to Epstein's client list in terms of where it is and what happened to it, I think one of two possibilities is true. Call it Schrodinger's list, if you will. Either the client list does currently exist and it's just locked away somewhere, hidden in a place where no one has access to it, or it was burned or destroyed in some way. I mean, there's no way they would let something as damaging and incriminating as a blackmail list containing a list of all of the people Epstein was in contact with and sex trafficked minors for just really exist, especially when people in the government were talking about publishing everything that's inside for the public to see. And maybe that's why the FBI and DOJ couldn't find it, because it was destroyed. Either that or they were just in charge of destroying it. Man, I'm really going full tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist in this video. I mean, everything I've said so far is a joke. I don't actually mean to suggest that the FBI burned the list. I'm just saying, in all seriousness, it definitely does exist, they just don't want us to know who's on it. But honestly, I highly doubt we're going to be told any of the names that were on the list or really get any new information about the Epstein files, or at least from Trump or the government themselves, because according to an article from the Daily Mail, Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's former ex-girlfriend, is ready to reveal truth of the pedophile client list, say insiders. Now, a source said despite the rumors, Ghislaine was never offered any kind of plea deal. She would be more than happy to sit before Congress and tell her story. No one from the government has ever asked her to share what she knows. She remains the only person to be jailed in connection to Epstein, and she would welcome the chance to tell the American public the truth. What that truth is remains to be seen. Maxwell was convicted in 2022 over her role in a scheme to sexually exploit and abuse multiple minor girls with Epstein over the course of a decade. Maxwell argues she should have been protected from prosecution as part of a non-prosecution agreement made by Epstein, her former lover and boss, in 2007 when he agreed to plead guilty to 2 minor charges of prostitution in a sweetheart deal which saw him spend little time behind bars. We are potentially gonna get a freaking bombshell dropped on us. Like, if she decides to spill everything that she knows, this could be freaking massive. Now, unfortunately, the article doesn't say exactly when she plans to testify before Congress, but what we do know, according to a source, is that she does, which could possibly be freaking insane. I mean, Maxwell was Epstein's former girlfriend and accomplice, so not only does she know a lot of the stuff that went down, but she also knows the people that were involved. And if she decides to drop all that knowledge before Congress, it's gonna be freaking crazy to say the least. But once again, unfortunately, we have no idea when she plans to do this. It could be within the next couple years, or it could not be for another 5 years. There's really no way to tell. But it looks like maybe sometime in the near future, we're finally gonna know exactly what went down with Epstein Epstein and also who was involved. And if or when that time comes, depending on what Maxwell decides to say, it's going to be a very chaotic time to say the least. And that's going to do it for the video. Thank you for watching, and yeah, peace.